Hey y'all, welcome back. For those of you that missed our first video, I'd like to say welcome to you too. My name is Emily, I'm from Maximus Games, and today I'd love to talk to you guys about our first game release as a family. We're really excited about this. It's called Time Walk Tower Defense. As you might think, it is one of your classic tower defense games. However, we always want to be different. We want to make our games unique. So we also decided to add in a third-person fighting aspect to it. So it's like that classic game you played as a kid, but now we get a little bit more advanced and a little bit more personal. You get to go fight those enemies in the lane by yourself. So speaking of enemies, that's what I've been working on a lot for the past 2 weeks, is designing them. If you've tagged along in our last video, you know that we've been using something called Magica Voxel. That's how we've been building all of our towers, all of our people, everything. So today I'm going to kind of walk you guys through the process of making these enemies from start to finish. Let's get at it. So of course, the first step in making your enemies is knowing what enemies you want to make. We did a major brainstorm session, me and my brothers, and we came out with 4 main different enemy categories. So what we came up with were the Timosaurs, the Time Pirates, the Time Dystopian Hit Squad, the Time Dystopian Hit Squad, yes, the Time Dystopian Hit Squad, and the Time Lost. So the goal of all of these different enemies is to destroy the time nodes. Essentially, they want to destroy the time nodes and bring chaos across all time and space. So obviously the Timosaurs are very prehistoric. They shouldn't even exist at the same time that the rest of our characters do from the high fantasy, modern, and future eras. The Time Pirates fit most in with the high fantasy era, but of course they're going to wreak chaos everywhere else too. And then the Time Dystopian Hit Squad is a futuristic government takeover sort authority. Essentially, the Space Emperor Zaj has complete control and authority over all of his citizens, who will do his every command. So last category we have are the Time Lost, and these are the guys that are really calling the shots. These guys have already been thrown into the chaos of not having time, so we were able to do some really interesting, funky things with these. For example, one guy, the Time Lost Swordsman, the wounds on his body keep appearing and reappearing because his body keeps going through time. So all those wounds simultaneously are there and are not. It's kind of an interesting thing. It's been really interesting to be able to play with that kind of idea of being time lost. So what I'm going to show you now is how some of these enemies got made. From start to finish, you're going to see how I went from just a bunch of little cubes to a finished, polished looking enemy. What I started with was this basic form as you see here. Basically, it's just the way to start every dude, that way everyone's uniform and their size is all the same. This one that I'm making right here is called the Swashbuckler. He's my favorite pirate dude. As you can see, I kind of was a little bit iffy on what design I wanted to do at first, but I ended up going with the classic dark vest for the pirate with the white shirt on underneath. Now, the premise behind this guy is that after his boat gets destroyed, he and a bunch of his friends stumble out drunkenly, falling all over the place. So really my basic character design behind this is that this guy is a mess. So as you can see, he's got a peg leg. I'm making him a little mug right there, and that's going to be filled with most likely rum in classic pirate fashion. And as you can see, I kind of messed with his eyes being a little bit weird, but I ended up keeping that for another character. His shirt is very ripped, and what I'm doing right now is I'm taking the pirate hat, I'm making it a different color, and I'm going to make it a little bit cockeyed just to, again, give that polished off. This guy is drunk and stumbling and a complete mess all around. So the next thing I'm going to do, of course, no pirate is finished without it, is I'm going to give him his beard. And he just has a very simple beard. Time Captain Jones. And so, of course, the very first step with this was making him very large, because he's the biggest enemy in the Pirates series. He's got to be big, he's got to show it. So, of course, what you can't see here is me desperately Googling pirate captain to try and figure out what his outfit should be. And this is part of the hard part with art, is it's a bit of a trial and error. As you can see, I didn't like that design. I thought it made him look like he was a monk, but he's not a monk, he's a pirate. So of course I started off with the boots, those are easy, and I'm giving him a nice big sword here, looking nice and menacing. And of course he has the gold hilt because he's the big bad boss. He's got to have his own pirate sword. So finally I ended on this design, which is this big, long, oversized coat in classic pirate fashion. And you're gonna see I'm gonna give him a normal white undershirt to go along with it. And so, of course, I had to give him his hat, which gave me a bit of struggle just trying to get it aligned right and everything. So I basically just started over in a new cube just to make it easier to be able to get it together. And you'll see here that he ends up having a pretty normal size hat. It's not that much bigger than the other two pirates that I created, but his hat is a little bit fancier. It does have the skull and crossbones logo on it. See there, I create it, and you'll see in just a second I copy and paste it over there. So now he's looking real nice. And of course I give him red fiery eyes because he's a scary captain. And what you don't see here is I actually go back and end up making that hat twice as big because I thought it was hilarious. So this next one I'm going to show you, I'm actually really happy with it. It's one of my favorites. I think it turned out really well. And it is the Triceratops from the Dinosaurs. And so let me say, as much as I love how it looks now, it did not start that way. As you can see here, I started with what is basically an oval and some vaguely leg-looking things. So not the greatest, most confidence-inspiring start, but kept going, and I think the results speak for themselves. So the tail gave me a lot of trouble with this guy. For whatever reason, I just could not get it to look good. And what you guys are seeing here is one of my first attempts at it, which again was not amazing. And so when I actually looked at it, I thought it looked really good for the head. So as much as I thought it was going to be the tail, it ended up being the head, which is honestly one of the cool things I've been learning about the creative process through this, is that sometimes you have to completely scrap what you're doing because something else just is working. So that's what this is, the future head. So again, this darn tail, this was my next attempt at it, and basically what I ended up with here is a cylinder coming out of the Triceratops' butt. So obviously not the best, not the greatest, and I ended up completely scrapping what you see here and going with a cone. Magica Voxel has a ton of helpful tools, and they're the only reason that any of this turned out good. So what you see here is my final attempt at the tail, which actually ended up working and looking good. So I started off with one of Magica Voxel's cone, bless that system, and then I used the scaling and rotation to get it in the exact size and place that I wanted. Of course, after that, I had to do a lot of detail work to be able to make it look right and make it look good with the state of the body. What you see here is me really making that back leg look really powerful, because I was looking at a ton of different pictures of Triceratops online, and in every single one they had these really powerful hind legs, so I really tried to capture that. Of course, nothing is ever done, so I kept adjusting and readjusting, attaching and erasing different blocks to get that sense right. And then I also added the red eyes because, one, I thought it looked cool, and also it definitely added on to the sense of the villain time-lost aspect of this animal. So what you see here is I actually cheated a little bit. I had been focusing on one side of the Triceratops, and I hadn't done anything with the other side. And I knew I wasn't going to be able to get it as great again, so I simply copy, pasted, and flipped it to work how I wanted it to. What you see next is me creating the crown, the circular headpiece of the Triceratops. And I started with little horns on the outside, and then I thought it would be fun to tie in the theme of time more. So as you can see here, this is me trying to make it look like a clock, going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And unfortunately, if you haven't caught it yet, I'll tell you, that is not how a clock goes. A clock starts at 12 up at the very top. So you'll see me adjust that, but first I had to get it set with the head in the right placement so that it didn't just look weird. Now you might think that I have it here since I erased the numbers, but no, I do not. And of course you'll see here, after I get to the 3, I finally realize the error and I start over with actual clock numbers. So that was good. So this is my final version of the Triceratops. Still really happy with it. Remember to comment if you like it or if you hate it. I'll cry if you do, but still comment it. Alright y'all, that's all the content I have for you today. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like. If you enjoyed some of the models that I had, please give us a comment below. We'd love to hear from you. And of course, subscribe to our channel, Maximus Games. We have some really cool things coming up. I'm going to keep pushing forward with models and animations and of course getting that menu system up and running, which I'd love to show you guys more in depth how that works. Next week, Alexander's going to release a video showing exactly what he's been doing, and we're just really excited to show off the work that we've been doing and keep you guys posted. So stay tuned, watch out for us, and have a great day. See you next time. Game on.